All right, the guy that started CrossFit is a great example of this principle. He wrote an article called Virtuosity. It's one page and it really is just pounding this in. I'm going to read a quote and you have it on your sheet from him. But he said, stick to the basics. And when you feel you've mastered them, it's time to start over again, or begin anew, again with the basics, this time paying closer attention. See, what he taught was that if we master the fundamentals, the high-flying, cool, sexy stuff comes. When we do our pull-ups correctly, with speed and with body control, that turns into chest-to-bar pull-ups, that turns into bar muscle-ups, that turns into ring muscle-ups. But if our pull-up's shaky, you won't get any of that other stuff, or you'll get some monstrosity version of that stuff, then probably end up hurt. If we stick to the fundamentals, if you squat well, if you do push-ups well, if you do sit-ups well, if you focus on the fundamentals, kettlebell swings, those other things are just naturally, they come out of focusing on the fundamentals. It's the same thing with recovery. It seems like, man, we really just tie into those basics, somehow all of a sudden we start to understand how to deal with these situations that once seemed so completely baffling, we didn't even know where to start. Where we start is back at the fundamentals. And what happens is, a lot of times happens to me, I'll get through the fundamentals and I want to start drifting off. I want to start doing cooler stuff, and then I start getting lost. But if I pull it all back to the fundamentals and start again, paying closer attention, every single time I find the flaw in the fundamentals. All right? So keep that in mind when you're training today. Fitness is simple, just like the 3 suggestions from my program. Get a sponsor, work the steps, and go to meetings. Fitness could be boiled down to get a trainer, eat quality meat and vegetables, and do CrossFit, or do constantly varied high intensity functional movement, right? If you just do those things, you're going to succeed. There's no one doing those things and failing, all right? Just like there's no one that's working the steps honestly with a sponsor and going to meetings that's failing. It's very hard to find someone who's doing the basics and not succeeding. But we tend to complicate stuff. It's that simple though, you know. And I'm the worst offender, you know. But I find it every time, and it happens in the gym too. We have people come in and are complaining about progress or not making progress. It always comes down to these things. That's the bottom line. So if it's that simple, then we really don't have an excuse. Your SobrietyWoD is talking about that issue a little bit. We, you know, as human beings, really not just addicts, but we have a tendency and a desire to overcomplicate things because it gives us an excuse. I remember time and time again getting in trouble, and my excuse was I didn't understand what y'all meant by don't talk in class or some other bullshit. I would use the inability to comprehend it as an excuse for disobeying it, you know. One of the issues with keeping it this simple is it's really hard to mess it up. And sometimes part of us doesn't really like that. Like, we like it to be complex. We like to not understand and not know what to do. But the reality is, it all comes down to the same thing. So your SobrietyWoD is to think about that. Where it might be somewhere in your life where you're making it harder than it has to be, right? And so for your workout today, we got 25. For time, we're doing 25 back squats. I want you to use something light because I want you to use the same bar for the 3rd movement. Second movement, 25 kettlebell swings. Focus on perfection. 25 push press. That's the dip drive and pressing the bar up over the head. Coach will help you with that. And follow that up with 25 sit-ups and then get your time. Push yourself, push through it, stick to the simplicity. Don't get caught up in making up this complexity of this workout or the system or any of that. Just hit this as hard as you can. Go home, get some rest, and get fit. Y'all, thanks for sticking around SobrietyWoD. If it's your first time, thanks for being here. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Vanessa.